Good day and greetings from Pretoria, South Africa. My name is Dr. Charles Cotter. I'm the Learning Navigator, the Change Management and Leadership in a Crisis online learning program, part of the e-learning series. This is an on-demand learning program and comprises of 6 modules. Each of the registered learners will receive a SlideShare presentation per module, and then also a detailed workbook which comprises the content, but also a series of learning activities, which I'll expect you to complete at the end of each of these modules. I think this is probably the best way of continuing the engagement and also to stimulate discussion between the Learning Navigator and the registered learners. As a form of introduction, I'd like to give you a quick overview of my professional pedigree. Essentially, I've been in the field of education, training, and development for the last 19 years. Of those 19, 15 as an independent contractor. I've been very privileged to have worked for over 140 different companies, both in the public and private sector. And of course, this stretches across 18 different countries and 4 different continents. My area of subject matter expertise is strategic management, change management, and also strategic human resources management. I'd like to conclude this module, Module 5, by looking at people management, in particular people management strategies. So there's 2 models that I'd like us to look at. And the first model is the model that I developed in 2018. It's the people management maturity hierarchy. And it starts at the base, and this is stage 1. And I often refer to this as the 4 C's. And you'll see that stage 1 is getting to know yourself. And this is very important. So this is almost like an interpersonal level. And the first of the 4 C's that we're talking about is cognition. And the corresponding law, why I like this model is as we go through each of the 4 levels, I try to associate it with a particular law. In this case, stage 1 correlates with the law of awareness. So this cognition, this awareness, interpersonal, getting to know yourself. It's going to be very difficult for you to effectively lead people in a time of crisis, in a time of this high degree of uncertainty, this VUCA business world that we've repeatedly spoken about. If you don't have personal mastery, if you don't know and understand yourself, so you'll see with emotional intelligence as well, this is the genesis of emotional maturity, this type of self-awareness, very important. Once you've mastered that, you can then upgrade to level 2, which is then knowing others, being interested in others. And this, unlike cognition, is a higher order kind of maturity because it speaks to the ability to coexist. And the corresponding law is the law of appreciation. So we're not at a level 3 or 4 where we are working in collaboration or we have collegial working relationships. It's the fact is we are coexisting. I don't necessarily have to like you, but as long as I show respect and tolerance and appreciation for the fact that maybe we have a different culture, then I think it to be very important that you master that. From there, you would graduate to stage 3, which is then collaboration at an interpersonal level, the law of association. This is where you not only coexist, but you also are able to work in harmony. And of course, this is going to be amplified where you have a remote working culture, where you don't have that proximity, you don't have that we're in the same office and I can just reach out and I can consult with you. You don't have that luxury. And I think this puts added pressure on change leaders in how do we facilitate this stage 3. The pinnacle of this particular model is stage 4, and that is where we can foster win-win, mutually beneficial relationships. And this is where we become interdependent. So this is going from interpersonal, interested, interpersonal to interdependent. Very important, interdependent. So change leaders can't do this without the collegial support. Remember, you recall from the previous modules, we looked at the hierarchy of commitment. So the law of association taken to the next level is then the law of attraction, that karma principle. And I think this really is this magical force field, this energy that kind of unites. It creates a heightened sense of inclusivity Not exclusivity, not diversity, but inclusivity, where people feel part of the team. The cohesion levels are off the charts. I think you'll agree with me that probably the most important interpersonal competency, people management skill is emotional intelligence. And I think Daniel Goleman has done some pioneering work. So what I've done is I've developed a contemporary emotional literacy competency model. I refer again to this as the 4 I's of emotional maturity. And I'm going to leave this model with you. But if you see, we start at the bottom left-hand quadrant. This is the starting point, this reflective intelligence, the RI. So we need to do the introspection. And this model is based on the 2 variables that you'll see are illustrated. On the x-axis, we have inward looking and outward looking. And on the y-axis, we have thoughts and behavior. So the bottom end, bottom left and bottom right-hand quadrants, you'll see speak to our thoughts, the reflective intelligence, the introspection. But then graduating beyond that, we need to have this adaptive mindset. And I think during a time of change and crisis, where you also in a remote working culture, you don't have the immediate support of your colleagues, this adaptive mindset, the AM, is very important, where we do this interrogation. And of course, this leads us to this interaction, this hyper-connected collaboration, which you'll see is a top right-hand quadrant, and then the emotional resilience, which I think we spoke about extensively on this program. Resilience is very important, that we develop this ability to bounce back, your coping mechanisms, so this insulation which will protect you. And you'll see on the right-hand side of the model there, so when we look at this reflective intelligence, plus the adaptive mindset, plus this emotional resilience, plus this hyper-connected collaboration, this ability to network and to work really well in even a virtual team structure, this collectively leads to and contributes to a heightened level of emotional maturity. So what I would like you to do is to complete a survey, again via SurveyMonkey, Learning Activity 15. And I'm asking you the question, what is your emotional intelligence? What is your emotional maturity, especially as a change leader, when you're challenged by working with remote employees, off-site, working from home, when you are challenged with a crisis, when you're under pressure. And we know from psychological studies that people working under pressure, this often reveals their true colors. They really can't fake it. And I'd like you to honestly measure your current degree of emotional intelligence and maturity. So again, I've given you the link of activity 15, question 15.1. Again, it's a 10-item questionnaire survey. It shouldn't take you more than 2 to 3 minutes. Again, the same scoring scale as the emotional engagement survey, ranging from strongly disagree. You'll see it gives you a self-scoring indication of, as a percentage, what your emotional intelligence is. And again, of the 10 competencies, I'd like you to identify 2 or 3 gaps where you feel the scores were not that adequate. What can we do to improve on that? Put it again in a 2 to 3 page essay. Email that to me. And then also from a benchmarking perspective, the report that I mentioned earlier on, in which I have research intelligence with regards to emotional intelligence, also employee engagement. And you'll see with module 6 as well, I'm going to ask you to complete another survey which looks at team effectiveness. And I'm going to share all of that research intelligence with you so that you're able to pitch yourself relative to your peers and also use it as a benchmarking tool. The second video clip that I'd like you to view, again, also on YouTube, probably, if I remember correctly, in the region of 7 to 8 minutes, and that is a spotlight on leadership. It's a video clip produced by Accenture Management Consultants, and I think it's very useful, animated video clip. It's very useful in terms of identifying the emotional intelligence competencies. What can we do? The strategies that we can employ to build our resilience, to build our empathy, to build our emotional maturity, so we can become better leaders during a time of crisis, so we can manage our remote working culture a lot better. So at this point, I would like to summarize and conclude. Again, you'll recall we have 3 learning outcomes with regards to module 5. You'll see we started off with this module by looking at the employee engagement strategies. I asked you to do the diagnosis initially, to measure your current state of organizational engagement, to do the gap analysis, and then also to recommend strategies on how to improve. We also then looked at the expert theories with regards to employee engagement, and we looked at the UK perspective, the American perspective, and I'd like you to collate all of that. And also by watching the video clip, the very short video clip, I'd like you to identify those strategies. Select 9 that you think are the most appropriate and the most relevant during a time of crisis, in particular when you have to manage a virtual team or remote working culture, etc. And then we concluded this activity by looking at 2 very important aspects over and above employee engagement, and that's of course talent management. There I want us to use the Deloitte Irresistible Organizational Model of 20 sub-factors as the yardstick against which we can do the diagnosis, the gap analysis, and then of course recommend strategies on how we can improve to become a more integrated talent management organization, become talent liberators, like I've repeatedly mentioned. And we concluded this module by looking at the different people management aspects, in particular the people management maturity model, the 4-stage model that I'm proposing, ranging from cognition to collegial working relations, and of course the final activity, learning activity 15, where I want you to do the online diagnosis by SurveyMonkey of the emotional intelligence, your emotional literacy, your emotional maturity, and again to use this as a leadership development tool in which you can then see where you need to improve, and also how you can become a better change manager in a time of crisis. So at this point, again, similar to the previous modules, I'd just like to thank you for your time, your participation in this particular program. Again, best of luck on your change management journey. Please don't feel that we are disconnected. You have my contact details, in particular, you have my email address. Please feel free at any point to drop me an email and to share some of your insights. If you have any questions, I would gladly respond to those questions, and also then just continue this learning engagement through the completion of the various learning activities. So this particular module, the scope of work was a little bit more than the preceding modules, but in particular, learning activity 12, 13, 14, and 15. I look forward to continuing this learning process. This was the penultimate model, and of course, we have 1 more module to go, and that's module 6. And like I said at the introduction of this video clip, we're going to look at virtual teams and also employee wellness and assistance strategies, especially during a time of crisis and working with a remote team. So I look forward to that, and best of luck with the challenges. This is your learning navigator, Dr. Charles Cotter, signing out, and best wishes and regards.
This is Charles Cotter signing out. I'd like to thank you for watching the video clip, Change Management and Leadership in a Crisis online learning program. Please be on the lookout for subsequent uploads on my YouTube learning channel of the other modules. Also, please have a look at the chat box section. You'll see in the comment section. If you'd like to access a copy of the workbook in PDF format, I'll gladly email that to you for this specific module, but also the other modules of the various video clips. I'd also like to remind you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please press the notification bell to be alerted of the subsequent uploads of the other modules, and also like to encourage you to reach out and contact me. My contact details and social media presence will be provided on the screen very shortly, so I'd encourage you to reach out, and of course I would welcome any sort of communication or feedback regarding this video clip or any other learning content on my YouTube learning channel. Thank you. I appreciate your ongoing interest and active social media support. Thank you. You keep well. Bye-bye.